This is a normal looking Hornby signal, and my plan is to try and add lighting to it. As you can see, the spectacle frame has solid colour in the spectacle plate, which we will have to change. Basically my idea is I'm going to add some lighting to the back of the signal somewhere around here. I don't know how yet. So let's see how we get on. First thing I need to do is dismantle this, and by the looks of it, there's just these pins holding in the counterweight and the spectacle plate, and I'm hoping I can just take those out with a pair of pliers. Okay, that's easy enough. So the little pin that holds these in is just friction. Now this one's a bit more tricky because it's not quite as easy to get to. I'm trying to use a big pair because I don't want to damage the head of the pin. Yeah, easy. Okay, so that's all come apart now. So what we've got is this extension on this version of the signal, which is just a plastic hole, which might be useful to us to put an LED straight in that hole. But what I'll do now is I'll go away and see what I've got in the way of LEDs and see what would possibly work in this area here. This was my first idea. I'm sure you've seen these. They're just strips of LEDs on a self-adhesive backing, and you just stick these where you like and you run 12 volts through them. And if you can see, there are banks of 3, 1, 2, 3, and you can cut them off, and there's a little resistor in there so that the LED will run off 12 volts. So my idea is to desolder these, because they're quite a nice size to fit the lamp we want on the signal gantry, and see how that goes. And what's quite good about them, because they are self-adhesive, I've stuck a strip on my work pad, and that will help me try and prise off the LEDs while I desolder them, which is what I'm now going to try and do. Not very easy to do this with the camera in the way. But there we go, that's one. 2. So as you can see, possibly there's just 2 terminals, 1 and 2, which are obviously going to be our wires going to them. So let's see how they look compared to the size of the signalling. My first thoughts are that looks just about perfect, really. I think they'd have to cut this piece of plastic off, because that will obviously be too close to the signal spectacle if we just stick it on the front. So my idea is to use this on here. I haven't quite figured out how to cut that out yet, but we'll have a fiddle with that. But that looks a good size comparison. I think I'll wire this one up and see what it looks like illuminated, and see if it still works then. So I've now soldered one of these onto 2 little wires here. As you can see, it's now illuminated, although possibly can't because it's so bright. That looks quite a good, let's see if I can get it in a picture. That looks quite a good size for what we need. The problem we've got, of course, is we've got to try and chop out part of that white block for this to fit in, and it's a square, so trying to fit a square peg into a square hole without some way of cutting it is going to be a bit difficult. But that certainly looks the right size and depth to fit in. I've got another couple of options as well, which I was thinking about while I was doing that, and they are, I don't think they'll be as good. One is just an ordinary LED. That's a 3mm LED, which I think is just going to be too thick for that lamp, because it would have to sit back here somewhat, and just don't think it will be very tidy. And the other idea I thought about was possibly having just like a grain of wheat bulb, but I think it's going to be far too bulky. And it'll probably look nice because it will be quite a warm glow rather than quite a harsh LED, but I just don't think the size is going to help us. One other option I'm going to look at, which I'm just now going to solder up. These are LEDs on a little strip. I think they're called SMT LEDs, surface mount technology, and as you can see they're absolutely tiny, and you need to solder them to 2 pieces of wire, which I've done here. And I think you see that white light on the end. The advantage of those is if we can fit them in, we really only need just to drill a small hole through the post and the light can shine through, I think. So we'll have a look at that as well, but probably what we need to do first of all is fit the blade and see where the actual hole is in the post where we need to fit the light to. So I'm going to do that next. Well, my first attempt, I was using one of these, which is, as you've probably seen, one is a paper hole making thing, various sizes, which is obviously what I needed to make various hole sizes. The hole cutting didn't go that well because I don't think it just doesn't make a very nice cut in quite brittle plastic, but I will use that. So my second attempt was using something a bit more severe, which is this, which is a sheet metal cutter, and if you can see that pin just moves up and down, which has the advantage it makes a very nice hole in metal, and also, as it turns out, quite a nice hole in the plastic semaphore. So this is the one I did using that, and as you can see it's made quite nice holes. The purpose of this exercise was to see whether the spectacle hole lined up with the back, and as you can see there, it's pretty good for the hole where the lamp, the plastic lamp cast in there is positioned, so I can use that as my guide. That's good. What I'm going to do now is, before I try and fit the light in the post, I'm going to try and fit the spectacles in the arm. And the advantage of using this thing is it pops out a round circle of whatever you're cutting through. So I'm hoping I can use some very thin plastic like this, which is from a super quick model, the window sort of acetate sheet, to make the round spectacles, which I'm going to colour with just permanent markers and see what they look like. I've got some thicker stuff here, which is a sort of thicker gauge plastic, which I could use as well, but I'm going to try the thin stuff first and see how that goes. I've tried a variety of methods to fit the spectacle glasses. Didn't have much success, but this is probably my best bet. What I've done is I've just bought like a kit from eBay, a sort of flash photography kit, which has got lots of these different colour translucent sheets in it. It's not totally clear, but it's actually sort of slightly translucent. So what I've done is I've just bought that, which is obviously pre-coloured, so I didn't have to use a pen or anything, so it's a bit more stable. And I use my my hole punch, just punch out the holes. And what I found is if I made the spectacle so it fits inside the hole in the spectacle frame, light bled round the edge of it, so it didn't look very good. So what I did is I just made the punched colour spectacle slightly larger. Obviously trying to fix it in place was a bit difficult because it's so small and I didn't want to get glue over everything. I tried a variety of ideas, and the best bet I came up with was just typical Yoo-hoo glue, and just try to get the glue on the edge of it. Hopefully once it's all in place it will look fine. So there we go. You can see I'm just shining the torch this side. It's just a red and green spectacle. If you remember, and you probably may have spotted earlier, that the red spectacle is actually slightly oval on the originals. Here's one here. That was just going to be far too complicated to try and cut an oval out with any degree of accuracy, so I'm just going to have to put up with having a circular red spectacle. And again, it's one of these things where you might notice, but I doubt if anyone else will once it's up and running. So there we go. Now next stage is to fit a light in the signal post and see how that looks. Put the SMT LED inside the lamp housing on the signal now. It looks incredibly bright on the screen, but it's not that bright. It's as dim as I can get it before it actually extinguishes it. The only problem I've really got is that the colour of the aspect is a bit wishy-washy because I guess because the plastic sheeting I've used colour-wise is not particularly strong. So I might try just adding a bit of felt tip pen over this to try and deepen that. You can't really see that because the light's too bright. So if I turn that off, so there it is. There's the SMT LED sitting inside that housing, which looks nice in there. I might actually see if I can put a little clear plastic cover on the front of that, just to try and dim it down a little bit. So all I need to do now is I'm going to hide that wiring around the back, give it a coat of paint, and then reassemble it and see what it looks like. Sticking the wires on this signal post didn't go very well. I tried various glues, including super glue and a sort of normal air fix or poly glue. This is a very waxy plastic that Hornby use, and no glue really stuck well to it. And so every time I put the wires on and let it set, I could just quite easily pull the wires off again. So that's why they're looking a bit of a mess, because it's about sort of third or fourth attempt to do it. In fact, what I found was best was this stuff, this sort of rocket card glue, which is a bit more rubberized sort of consistency, and therefore did actually stick the wires down so that I could then paint the whole thing with a white Humbrol matte. And I've added just a few little details in black, the signal lamp and the cap. So the wire runs down the back, which didn't matter anyway in the end, because that's the side which is going to be hidden from view. So I've just run them down the sort of the back side, as it were. And as I got to the base, I've just drilled a small hole up the centre of the post, and so the wires can run out the bottom. So that's fine. And the other thing I did is I've added just a small circle of tracing film over the lamp aperture, just to try and tone down that very bright LED light. So this is the one I've done. I'm quite happy with it, really. Obviously, no doubt if I have another go, I'll do things slightly differently and maybe slightly improve it. But there we go. Quite simple little light shining through our new spectacle, which I'm quite happy with. That looks reasonably good. It looks brighter in the camera, and it's actually not so bright in real life, which is what I was aiming for, sort of slightly more restrained lamp, as it were. So that one's now finished. I've just got to put the ladder on there, and I'm not going to use these bases on my layout, so I'm just going to pull that off and then put the post straight into the deck, as it were. So there we go, that's finished. That's what they started out like, and that's what they've ended up like. So that's good, happy with that. So I'll put them in the layout, and I'll see what they look like. Hopefully, I think they look nice. So there they are in place. I haven't fixed them in because I want to try and figure out a way to remotely operate those. The colour looks a little bit washed out, but it is actually quite a nice level of colour in the red aspect and the green aspect. So yeah, happy with that. That all works. One thing I haven't mentioned about the whole thing is that the LED in the signal lamp is obviously only works off 2.2 volts or thereabouts. So whatever voltage you are supplying to the lamp needs to have a resistor to suit. So I'm running these off my 5-volt signal bus. So I put a resistor in to reduce that voltage down to a sensible level. Anyway, there we go. Happy with that. That's it. I think the second time I do it will be better, but as a first attempt, I think they work quite well.